It had been 2 years since we said goodbye, but there he was again, standing under the flickering street lamp like no time had passed at all. His green eyes were soft but shadowed with something deeper, something I couldn't quite name. He looked like he was holding himself together just by sheer will, fists clenched at his sides as if afraid to reach out. "We can't keep doing this," I whispered into the cold night air, my breath curling in front of me like a ghost of what used to be. "I know," Jack replied, his voice barely audible over the silence between us. The kind of silence that carried every unspoken word, every unresolved feeling. I swallowed hard, trying to steady the ache in my chest. "We love each other," I admitted, the truth cutting through me like glass. "But love isn't enough anymore," he said, his voice cracking just slightly at the end. He stepped forward, searching my face like he was memorizing it one last time. "It's not fair, though. It still hurts," he murmured. I nodded because I felt it too, the same pain, the same longing, the same unbearable weight of knowing this was really the end. "So this is it?" he asked, offering a weak smile. I forced one back. "Yeah, this is it." We stood there for a moment longer, neither of us wanting to be the first to walk away. And finally, Jack sighed and took a step back. "Take care, Noah. You too." Then he turned and disappeared into the dark. That's when I woke up, heart pounding, sweat clinging to my skin. I sat up in bed, disoriented, my chest aching with something I couldn't explain. 2 years gone, and still, the pain lingered. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was just a nightmare. That the dream of Jack, the flicker of his green eyes, the weight of his voice saying goodbye, it was all in my head. But as I sat on the edge of my bed, heart still pounding from the remnants of sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. The silence in my apartment felt heavier than usual, like the walls were holding their breath with me. I got up, moving through the motions, brushing my teeth, pulling on clothes, grabbing my keys. I needed normalcy, needed routine. So I went for coffee, the same cafe I always did, the one where the barista knew my name and the pastries were always warm. I ordered, found a seat by the window, and pulled out my phone. Just scrolling, just pretending everything was fine. But then came that feeling again. That strange prickling at the back of my neck, the kind you can't explain but always trust. Like someone's gaze is burning into your skin even when you don't see them. I glanced up instinctively, scanning the street outside. Nothing seemed off at first. People walking, cars passing, a couple laughing under an umbrella. Then I saw him. Across the street, just past the glow of the street lamp, stood a figure. Hooded, still, head slightly tilted like they were studying me. Watching. My throat went dry. I blinked once, twice, thinking maybe it was just my imagination playing tricks again. But when I looked back, the figure was gone. Not walked away. Just vanished. I sat there frozen, fingers tightening around my cup. It wasn't possible. It had to be coincidence. Maybe someone waiting for a ride. Maybe someone who just happened to be looking this way. But deep down, I didn't believe that, not really. By the time I got home that night, I told myself I was being paranoid. That I needed sleep. Needed to stop letting dreams bleed into reality. But then my phone buzzed on the nightstand while I was half asleep. I groggily reached for it, glancing at the screen. No caller ID. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello." Silence. I frowned, pulling the phone away from my ear. "Hello." I repeated, louder this time. Still nothing. Just breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Like whoever was on the other line was waiting for me to say something else. A chill ran down my spine. I hung up immediately, heart already racing. I tried to laugh it off, tell myself it was just some random spam call. But when I checked my call log in the morning, the number wasn't there. Like it never existed. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just in my head. Someone was reaching out from the past. And they weren't going to stop. I didn't sleep much after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the dream replayed, the flicker of Jack's green eyes, his voice breaking as he said goodbye, the way he disappeared into the dark like he was never really there. And then there was the memory of the shadow at my window, the eerie silence of that call with nothing but breathing on the other end. It wasn't just a nightmare. Something was happening, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When I finally dragged myself out of bed, my phone buzzed again. No caller ID. Again. I hesitated before unlocking it, staring at the screen like it might bite me. The call log still showed nothing. Just like the last time. I told myself to stop being paranoid, but deep down, I knew better. This wasn't normal. These weren't glitches or random calls. Someone was trying to reach me. Someone who didn't want to be seen. Later that afternoon, Alex stopped by. They had been one of my closest friends since college, always the first person I went to when things got weird. That day, they looked more serious than usual, their brows furrowed like they were carrying something heavy. "You need to hear this," they said, sitting down across from me at the kitchen table. I frowned, sipping my coffee. "Hear what?" Alex exhaled slowly. I saw him. My stomach dropped. "Jack." They nodded. "Yesterday. Near your apartment." I froze, the mug halfway to my lips. My mind raced through every possible explanation, coincidence, mistaken identity, maybe even a prank, but none of them felt right. "Not anymore. Are you sure?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Alex leaned forward. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there watching. Didn't move. Didn't look away. Just watching. A chill ran down my spine. I wanted to tell them they were wrong, that they must have imagined it, but the look in their eyes told me they weren't. And worse, I believed them. Because I had seen him too. Not just in dreams. Not just in fleeting shadows. But in real life. And now someone else had seen him too. That night, I called Ethan. He was the only person I trusted who could actually do something about this, someone who wouldn't just shrug it off as paranoia. As an official detective, he dealt with cases like this all the time. Stalking, harassment, threats. If anyone could help me make sense of what was happening, it was him. We met at a quiet cafe 2 days later. He slid into the booth across from me, already studying my face before he even spoke. "You don't look good," he said bluntly. I scoffed. "Thanks." He raised an eyebrow. "You called me. So I'm guessing this isn't just about missing sleep." I took a deep breath, gripping my coffee cup tighter. "I think Jack is watching me." Ethan's expression shifted slightly, less skepticism, more curiosity. "Watching you how?" I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. "It started with weird phone calls. No number, just breathing on the line. Then I kept seeing this shadowy figure near my place, near the cafe, and my phone, it glitched. Old pictures of us keep popping up even though I know I deleted them." Ethan leaned back, arms crossed. "You're sure it's Jack?" I swallowed hard. "A friend saw him near my apartment." That made Ethan pause. "Okay," he said after a beat. "That's weird." I let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, no kidding." He pulled out a small notepad and flipped it open. "All right. You did the right thing telling me." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "I don't feel safe, Ethan." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Let me look into it. Calls, surveillance footage, anything that might give us a lead." A small part of the weight on my chest lifted, but not completely. Because deep down, I had this gut feeling, whatever was happening, it was only getting started. And I was right. 2 weeks later, I had enough of this. The phone calls, the photos, the shadow outside my window. It was messing with my head. So when I felt that prickling sensation again, that heavy weight of being watched, I didn't freeze. I turned around. There, across the street, just barely out of the glow of the street lamp, stood a figure. Still, unmoving. My heart pounded. But this time, I didn't hesitate. I ran. I shoved past a couple walking their dog, my breath sharp in the cold air. "Hey," I called out, hoping, knowing, they could hear me. But the figure moved fast, slipping into the alley. I sprinted after them, turning the corner just in time to see nothing. The alley was empty, silent. No footsteps, no rustling, no signs that anyone had even been there. I stood there panting, hands on my knees. There was no way they could have gotten that far in just a few seconds. No way. I swallowed hard and stepped forward, scanning the darkness. "Jack." My voice echoed slightly, and I hated how uncertain I sounded. "Nothing." I exhaled, backing away. This wasn't normal. No one moved like that. No one disappeared like that. I turned around and headed home, my pulse still racing. Whoever this was, they were playing games with me. And I was starting to wonder if I was the only one chasing them, or if they were just waiting for the right moment to stop running. I didn't sleep much after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the dream replayed, the flicker of Jack's green eyes, his voice breaking as he said goodbye, the way he disappeared into the dark like he was never really there. And then there was the memory of the shadow at my window, the eerie silence of that call with nothing but breathing on the other end. It wasn't just a nightmare. Something was happening, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When I finally dragged myself out of bed, my phone buzzed again. No caller ID. Again. I hesitated before unlocking it, staring at the screen like it might bite me. The call log still showed nothing. Just like the last time. I told myself to stop being paranoid, but deep down, I knew better. This wasn't normal. These weren't glitches or random calls. Someone was trying to reach me. Someone who didn't want to be seen. Later that afternoon, Alex stopped by. They had been one of my closest friends since college, always the first person I went to when things got weird. That day, they looked more serious than usual, their brows furrowed like they were carrying something heavy. "You need to hear this," they said, sitting down across from me at the kitchen table. I frowned, sipping my coffee. "Hear what?" Alex exhaled slowly. I saw him. My stomach dropped. "Jack." They nodded. "Yesterday. Near your apartment." I froze, the mug halfway to my lips. My mind raced through every possible explanation, coincidence, mistaken identity, maybe even a prank, but none of them felt right. "Not anymore. Are you sure?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Alex leaned forward. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there watching. Didn't move. Didn't look away. Just watching. A chill ran down my spine. I wanted to tell them they were wrong, that they must have imagined it, but the look in their eyes told me they weren't. And worse, I believed them. Because I had seen him too. Not just in dreams. Not just in fleeting shadows. But in real life. And now someone else had seen him too. That night, I called Ethan. He was the only person I trusted who could actually do something about this, someone who wouldn't just shrug it off as paranoia. As an official detective, he dealt with cases like this all the time. Stalking, harassment, threats. If anyone could help me make sense of what was happening, it was him. We met at a quiet cafe 2 days later. He slid into the booth across from me, already studying my face before he even spoke. "You don't look good," he said bluntly. I scoffed. "Thanks." He raised an eyebrow. "You called me. So I'm guessing this isn't just about missing sleep." I took a deep breath, gripping my coffee cup tighter. "I think Jack is watching me." Ethan's expression shifted slightly, less skepticism, more curiosity. "Watching you how?" I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. "It started with weird phone calls. No number, just breathing on the line. Then I kept seeing this shadowy figure near my place, near the cafe, and my phone, it glitched. Old pictures of us keep popping up even though I know I deleted them." Ethan leaned back, arms crossed. "You're sure it's Jack?" I swallowed hard. "A friend saw him near my apartment." That made Ethan pause. "Okay," he said after a beat. "That's weird." I let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, no kidding." He pulled out a small notepad and flipped it open. "All right. You did the right thing telling me." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "I don't feel safe, Ethan." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Let me look into it. Calls, surveillance footage, anything that might give us a lead." A small part of the weight on my chest lifted, but not completely. Because deep down, I had this gut feeling, whatever was happening, it was only getting started. And I was right. 2 weeks later, I had enough of this. The phone calls, the photos, the shadow outside my window. It was messing with my head. So when I felt that prickling sensation again, that heavy weight of being watched, I didn't hesitate. I ran. I shoved past a couple walking their dog, my breath sharp in the cold air. "Hey," I called out, hoping, knowing, they could hear me. But the figure moved fast, slipping into the alley. I sprinted after them, turning the corner just in time to see nothing. The alley was empty, silent. No footsteps, no rustling, no signs that anyone had even been there. I stood there panting, hands on my knees. There was no way they could have gotten that far in just a few seconds. No way. I swallowed hard and stepped forward, scanning the darkness. "Jack." My voice echoed slightly, and I hated how uncertain I sounded. "Nothing." I exhaled, backing away. This wasn't normal. No one moved like that, but I didn't see any of it clearly. All I saw was Jack. He came in like thunder and fire, fists flying, rage unleashed. He tackled Victor, slamming him against the nearest wall. "You don't get to touch him," Jack snarled. Victor tried to fight back, but Jack was faster. Stronger. Driven by something more than just anger. By love. By loss. By the need to protect me. Sirens blared. Ethan moved in. Officers swarmed the room. Victor was dragged to his feet, bloodied and furious. "This changes nothing," he growled through gritted teeth. Ethan cuffed him, expression cold and unwavering. "Yes," he said. "It does." As they hauled Victor away, I slumped forward, exhausted, bruised, but alive. Jack dropped to his knees beside me. "Are you okay?" he asked, voice shaking. I nodded weakly. "Think so." He reached for my face, cupping it gently. Making sure I was real. We were both battered, but we were together. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it was over. Really over. 2 days later, the city felt different. Quieter. Like the weight that had been pressing down on me for months had finally lifted. Victor was gone, locked away where he couldn't hurt anyone else. And yet, even with all that, I still found myself waking up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, expecting to see a shadow outside my window or feel that eerie sense of being watched. But there was nothing. No unknown calls. No mysterious texts. No flicker of movement just out of sight. Just silence. And for once, it wasn't heavy. It wasn't suffocating. No one disappeared like that. I turned around and headed home, my pulse still racing. Whoever this was, they were playing games with me. And I was starting to wonder if I was the only one chasing them, or if they were just waiting for the right moment to stop running. The days after confronting Jack should have brought me some kind of peace, but instead, they only deepened the fear that had been growing inside me. Knowing the truth about Victor, about the world Jack had fallen into, it didn't make things better. If anything, it made them worse. Because now I wasn't just being watched by a ghost from my past, I was being hunted by someone dangerous, someone who saw me as leverage in a game I never agreed to play. I tried to stay strong. I told myself we had a plan now. We had proof. We had Ethan. But Victor wasn't the kind of man who let go easily. And he certainly didn't forget. It started with the texts again, only this time, they weren't vague warnings. "Stay out of this. Asterisk. We know where you live. Asterisk." Then came the photos. Not just screenshots of my building or my street lamp lit window anymore. These were different. More personal. One showed my front door slightly ajar. Another showed my balcony at night, the light from my laptop glowing through the blinds. Someone had been close, too close, and I hadn't even known it. I showed the messages to Jack, and for the first time since we'd started all of this, I saw real fear in his eyes. "They're watching you," he said quietly, voice tight. "No shit," I muttered, pacing the living room, trying to ignore the tremble in my hands. "But why? Why now?" Jack shook his head, jaw clenched. "Because we got too close. At the warehouse. They know we were there." I swallowed hard. "So what does that mean for us?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, like he was trying to memorize my face. "It means we need to be careful." But being careful wasn't enough. A few nights later, I came home to find my apartment door unlocked. That alone should have been a red flag, but I ignored it at first. Maybe I'd forgotten to lock it on my way out. Maybe I was just paranoid. But when I stepped inside, I knew. Something was wrong. The air felt heavier than usual, like it had been disturbed. The couch cushions were slashed open. My cabinets were left wide open, dishes shattered across the floor. Papers were scattered everywhere, like someone had gone through everything looking for something specific, or just wanted to send a message. I moved slowly through the space, heart pounding, scanning for signs of anyone still being there. Nothing. Just silence. And then I saw it. Spray painted across my wall in jagged, angry letters. "Stay away." My breath caught in my throat. My hands trembled. I backed away from the words like they might come alive and hurt me. This wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. I called Ethan immediately. He answered on the second ring. "Where are you?" he asked. No greeting, just urgency. "My place," I whispered. "They broke in." There was a pause on the other line. Then, "I'm on my way." I didn't move until he arrived. Didn't even touch anything. I just stood in the hallway, arms wrapped around myself, trying to steady my breathing. When Ethan finally walked in, he took one look at the damage and cursed under his breath. "This isn't just intimidation," he muttered. "This is retaliation." I nodded numbly. "They want me to stop." Ethan turned to me, expression serious. "Did they take anything?" I shook my head. "Not that I can tell. It's like they just wanted me to know they could get to me." He sighed, rubbing a hand down his face. "Well, they did." I stared at the spray paint on the wall, feeling the weight of it settle deep in my chest. "What do I do now?" Ethan hesitated. "You don't do anything reckless. You lay low. I'll file a report, get forensics in here. But Noah," he met my eyes. "If you see anything else, if you feel like you're being followed again, you call me." No waiting. No hesitation. I nodded, but I already knew the truth. Victor wasn't going to stop. And neither was Jack. Whatever was coming next, I wasn't ready for it. But I couldn't run anymore. I had to see this through. Even if it cost me everything. I didn't hesitate. As soon as I saw the fear in Jack's eyes, I knew there was no turning back. This wasn't just about proving Victor's crimes anymore, it was personal now. He had hurt too many people, taken too much from us, and if I had to walk straight into the lion's den to stop him, then so be it. Jack looked at me like he wanted to argue, like he still thought he could protect me by keeping me out of this. But I didn't give him the chance. "I'm in," I said again, firmer this time. "Tell me how we end this." He exhaled sharply through his nose, his jaw tightening. For a moment, I thought he might try to send me home, tell me to stay safe while he dealt with everything alone. But instead, he nodded. Just once. A silent acknowledgement that I wasn't going anywhere. We spent the next few days planning every move carefully. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses, photos of known associates entering and exiting Victor's properties, any evidence we could gather that would hold up in court. We needed something undeniable, something that couldn't be erased or buried. Then came the riskiest part. Jack told me about the warehouse where Victor's men moved the money. It was one of their main drop points, always guarded but never fully locked down until late at night. If we could get in and capture clear footage of the transactions, we'd have enough leverage to bring Victor down for good. I swallowed hard as we crouched behind stacks of crates, the damp air thick with rust and gasoline. My heart pounded louder than the distant hum of city life. Jack gave me a quick glance before nodding toward the entrance. "They'll be here soon," he whispered. I gripped my phone tightly, fingers slick with sweat. "You sure this is going to work?" Jack didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed fixed on the shadows ahead, calculating, preparing. Then he turned to me. "It has to." Minutes passed. Then footsteps echoed against the concrete floor inside the warehouse. A group of men entered, dragging heavy duffel bags behind them. One of them unzipped a bag, revealing stacks of cash neatly wrapped and labeled. My stomach twisted. Jack nudged me. "Now." I lifted my phone, snapping photos as quickly as I could. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I forced myself to stay focused. We needed proof. We needed to make this real. But before I could finish, the screen flickered. I blinked, thinking it was just a glitch. Then the lights above us flared on, blinding us both. A sharp voice cut through the silence. "You think we wouldn't notice?" Jack grabbed my arm, but it was already too late. The men turned toward us, hands reaching for their jackets, where I assumed weapons were hidden. Then a man stepped forward, calm and confident, like he had been expecting us all along. "Victor." His lips curled into an amused smirk. "Nice try," he said, almost impressed. "But you're going to have to do better than that." Panic surged through me, but Jack didn't let go of my arm. He pulled me back slightly, positioning himself between me and the others. Victor tilted his head. "Run now, and I won't chase you." "Not yet." I didn't move. Neither did Jack. Instead, he met Victor's gaze head-on, defiance burning in his eyes. "You don't scare me," Jack said, voice low and steady. Victor chuckled. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." Before either of us could react, two of his men stepped forward, blocking our exit. Jack tensed beside me. "Let's go," he muttered under his breath. I didn't need to be told twice. We bolted for the side door, feet pounding against the cold concrete floor. Gunfire cracked behind us, ricocheting off metal beams. My breath came in short bursts as adrenaline surged through my veins. We barely made it outside before jumping into Jack's car, tires screeching as we sped off into the night. Neither of us spoke until we were back at my apartment, doors locked, curtains drawn. Jack immediately reached for his phone. "Send me the photos," he said urgently. "We'll back them up. Send them to Ethan." I unlocked my gallery, scrolling through the images I had taken. And then my stomach dropped. They were gone. Every single one. I blinked, refreshing the album. Nothing. It was like they had never existed. Jack noticed my silence first. "Noah." I looked up at him, my voice hollow. "They're gone." He rushed over, grabbing my phone. His jaw tightened as he scrolled. "That's not possible. You took them." "I know you did." I swallowed hard, trying to make sense of it. "Jack, how did they?" Before I could finish, a new notification popped up on my screen. "Unknown number. Stay out of this." I felt sick. Jack stared at the message, then let out a sharp breath, his grip tightening on my phone. "He's always ahead of us," I whispered. Jack looked up, his green eyes flashing with something cold and determined. "Not for long," he muttered. "We weren't done yet. And neither was he. They took me. Bound. Beaten. Used as bait." Victor smirked as he handed me the phone. "Call Jack," he ordered. "Or die." I hesitated for only a second, my fingers trembling around the device. My heart pounded like it was trying to break free from my chest. I could feel Victor's eyes on me, watching, waiting for me to break. His men stood around us, silent but dangerous, their presence pressing down on me like a weight I couldn't shake. Jack's name hovered on the screen. My thumb hovered over the call button. Then an idea hit me. A desperate, reckless, last chance kind of idea. Because even if I called Jack, even if he came running like Victor wanted, we both knew how this would end unless something changed. We were outnumbered, outgunned, and I wasn't going to let Jack walk into a trap just to save me. Not without a plan. I swallowed hard and pressed call. The line rang once, twice. On the third ring, Jack answered. His voice was tight with fear and fury all at once. "Noah." I barely had time to breathe before Victor grabbed my arm, yanking me up so I was forced to look at him. "Tell him what I told you," Victor said through his teeth. "Tell him if he wants you alive, he knows what to do." I met Victor's gaze, my own filled with defiance. Then I spoke. "Jack, listen to me." There was silence on the other line, but I could hear the tension in his breath. "I need you to stay calm," I whispered. Victor narrowed his eyes. "You tell him to come here alone or..." I cut him off. "I need you to trust me," I said quickly, my voice low. "Don't come here yet. Not yet." Jack didn't speak right away. Then, softly, "Okay." That was all I needed. With one hand gripping the phone, I used the other to unlock my gallery. My hands shook, but I forced myself to move fast. I pulled up the shared drive we had set up weeks ago, the one linked to Ethan, to news outlets, to anyone who might actually be able to help. And I uploaded everything. Every document. Every photo. Every secret. The moment the upload started, my pulse spiked. I knew if Victor noticed, I was done for. But I also knew there was no other way. The files sent in seconds. Confirmation after confirmation popped up on my screen. And then, Victor saw it. He snatched the phone from my hand, eyes scanning the screen. His face darkened. "What the hell did you just do?" he growled. I didn't answer. I just stared at him, breathing hard, knowing I had made my final move. Victor roared in rage and punched me across the face. Stars exploded behind my eyes. Pain flared in my ribs as he shoved me back against a wall. "You little bastard," he spat. Footsteps echoed outside. Shouts. Gunfire cracked through the air. Then the door burst open. Ethan stormed in first, gun raised, followed by a team of officers. "Drop your weapons," he bellowed. Chaos erupted. Men scrambled. Orders were shouted. The room became a blur of movement. It was peace. I stood on my balcony that night, letting the cool air wrap around me like a blanket. The city lights shimmered below, soft and steady, like they had always been this way. I could hear the distant hum of life, cars passing, laughter echoing from somewhere down the street, but none of it felt intrusive. None of it made me want to shut the door and hide. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't afraid. Jack stepped out behind me a few minutes later, his presence quiet but grounding. He didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the railing beside me, hands tucked into his pockets, eyes scanning the skyline. "You okay?" he asked after a moment, voice low and careful. I huffed a small laugh, glancing at him. "I think so." He studied me for a second, then nodded, like he understood exactly what I meant. Because maybe he did. We stood there together, the wind rustling through our clothes, the silence between us filled with everything we hadn't said yet. Everything we were still learning how to say. Jack shifted slightly, turning more toward me. His green eyes caught the faint light from inside the apartment, making them look softer than I remembered. More open. "I don't know if I've ever told you this," he said quietly, "but I missed this. Just standing here with you. Not running, not hiding, just being." I swallowed hard, the words catching something deep in my chest. Me too. It was simple, but it was true. Jack exhaled slowly, like he had been holding his breath for years and was finally allowed to let it go. I looked down at my hands, fingers curling slightly against the railing. There was so much we still needed to talk about. So many things left unresolved. But right now, in this moment, I didn't need answers. I just needed to know he was here. And he was. "I used to dream about this," I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "About having you back. About not being scared every time I heard a noise late at night. About knowing you were safe." Jack's jaw tightened slightly, guilt flickering across his face. "I never wanted to be the reason you were afraid," he said, voice rough with emotion. "I thought if I walked away, you'd be better off. That you'd be free." I turned to look at him fully. "You weren't protecting me, Jack. You were punishing yourself. And I was left trying to understand why you didn't fight for us." His eyes dropped to the ground, pain flashing beneath the surface. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he murmured. "But I see now that I was wrong." I hesitated before speaking again, choosing my words carefully. "You were. But you're here now." Jack looked up, meeting my gaze directly. "And I'm not going anywhere." Something in his voice made me believe him. Not just because he said it, but because I could feel it. The tension that used to sit between us, the anger, the confusion, the lingering grief, was fading. Not gone completely, but no longer the only thing holding us together. Now, it was something else. Something quieter. Something real. I reached out without thinking, brushing my fingers lightly over his hand. Jack didn't pull away. Instead, he turned his palm upward, lacing our fingers together like it had never changed. Like we had never stopped belonging to each other. "I don't expect everything to be perfect," I said softly. "We have a lot to work through. A lot to rebuild." Jack squeezed my hand gently. "I know. But I want to try. I want to make this right." I let out a slow breath, feeling the weight of everything settle around us, not crushing, not suffocating, just present. And for the first time in a long time, I was okay with that. Because whatever came next, we wouldn't face it alone. We would face it together. A year later, I stood on the balcony again, just like I had so many times before. But this time, there was no fear lurking in the corners of my mind, no paranoia curling at the edges of my thoughts. Just peace. Just quiet joy. The city stretched out below me, lights flickering like stars scattered across the earth. A soft breeze tugged at my shirt, and behind me, I heard the sliding door open. Jack stepped outside, 2 steaming mugs in hand. He handed one to me without a word, then leaned against the railing beside me, shoulder brushing mine. We didn't need words to fill the silence anymore. We had learned how to exist in the quiet moments together, how to find comfort in each other's presence without needing explanations or promises. But tonight, he had something to say. I could feel it in the way his fingers tightened slightly around his mug, in the way his eyes kept flicking toward me instead of the skyline. Finally, he turned to face me fully. "Noah," he started, voice low and steady, "there's something I've been wanting to ask you." I raised an eyebrow, smirking slightly. "You're not breaking up with me, are you?" Jack let out a short laugh, but it faded quickly into something more serious. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. My breath caught. He opened it slowly, revealing a simple silver ring, unadorned but meaningful. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, with everything he ever felt shining in his green eyes. "Stay with me forever," he said softly. That was all it took. My throat tightened, my heart swelling until it felt too big for my chest. I stared at him, at the man who had fought through hell to get back to me, who had risked everything just to keep me safe, who had never truly stopped loving me even when he thought he had to walk away. And I knew. This wasn't just another beginning. It was the promise of forever. I nodded, tears pricking the corners of my eyes. Yes. Jack exhaled like he had been holding his breath for years, and then he smiled, the kind of smile that made everything else fade away. He slid the ring onto my finger, and as our hands stayed connected, I realized something. We had been together once. Then torn apart. Life had thrown chaos and danger and fear at us, had tested us in every way possible. But somehow, we always found our way back. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was just us. Two people who never really stopped loving each other, no matter how much time passed. Now, we didn't have to run. Didn't have to hide. Didn't have to fight for survival. We just got to be together, forever. And as I looked at Jack, standing beside me under the night sky, I knew with absolute certainty, this was where I was always meant to be, with him.